I was so glad that I got into it. I wrote a book also. It just got published last month, Senior Living Investing Made Easy. But essentially, what it is that our whole money structure, our whole economy is going to shift towards spending habits and living habits of the seniors.
Welcome to Last Life Ever. My name is Jeff, and that over there is Jillian Sidoti. Those
That
weird images. I pointed the wrong way. I feel like the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. Some go this way, some go that way. Jillian, you're in the middle today. You have the center of attention. So
Yes.
why don't you tell us what we're doing, Jillian?
Going to tell
before
us.
you get to that,
Yeah.
let's just quickly mention the other two pillars.
The other two
'cause they're
pillars,
important.
yes, you're right. They are. They are also having extraordinary adventures and experiences. So having more experience in life, you can't do that, or you can't do it in a meaningful way if you don't have financial freedom, if you're always worried about money. And the fifth one is giving back to your community, because none of it's worth it if you can't give back to your community. So today, we're going to focus on pillar number 3. Our guest is going to tell us how to focus on number three, using a very specific investment strategy. And his name is Vinney Chopra. And Vinney Smiles Chopra, I should say. Yeah. It's true. The man constantly smiles. He's one of the most joyous people I've ever met in my life. And Vinney and I met Vinney, and Jeff also met Vinney in a very similar way. He was a multifamily investor, which Jeff and I do a lot of multifamily investing, but he's recently made the transition from multifamily investing into senior living. And that's, I think, a difficult concept for people to understand, Vinney. So tell us what senior living exactly is.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be on your show, Jillian and Jeffrey. You are great friends, and thank you. It's such a pleasure. I don't know if you know that I'll be 72 coming up next month. I mean, in August, 72. So for the last 5 years, I've been looking at demographical shift happening in this country. And we used to say that 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every night. That number is 11,200 now. Every night, we are becoming seniors, 65 plus. And about 4,000 of us are turning 80 years and 85 years every night. So that's when I just pivoted about 5 years back. I said, let me look into this. And I was so glad that I got into it. I wrote a book also. It just got published last month, Senior Living Investing Made Easy. But essentially, what it is that our whole money structure, our whole economy is going to shift towards spending habits and living habits of the seniors. And that's why. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Mhm.
Jillian knows this, but we had a guest on Last Life Ever. I know 5 years ago, almost now, 3 or 4 years ago for sure. Harry Dent, right, the economist Harry Dent,
Yeah.
and he said, this is pre-COVID that he said this to us, or maybe right during the beginning of COVID. He said, if you're going to invest, you need to invest in things that demographically make sense. And when we asked him, he literally said, I would buy parking lots in India, or I would buy senior living facilities in the Midwest.
Wow.
I think
And
he was actually on, I think he may have said that on Old Fashioned Real Estate and not on this show. Now that I think about it, I had him on both shows at the same time. Yeah. No, I think that was on my other show. But regardless, Harry said
Yeah.
that to me anyway.
Wow.
And
he's very
ever since
accomplished.
then, I've been really interested in that market because he's a really smart guy and he's been ahead of the curve a lot. And so you must have watched Old Fashioned Real Estate back then and decided to switch fields. That must have been what happened.
Maybe you're right. But the thing is, see, it just makes sense because we are short right now. Of course, I just have researched, and a lot of people can see that. From the right side, there is no need-driven senior living to need-driven senior living. What I mean by that is like in retirement homes or communities, golf courses, or townhouse, people are going downsizing is the word, but they don't need help in assistance in cooking or anything. They can have a very good lifestyle. Then in the middle spectrum, it's assisted living and memory care. That's assisted living and Alzheimer, as you all know. That is a predominantly ADLs, activities of daily living, when they are impaired. If people cannot walk or talk, I mean, not talk, sorry, walk and cook and bathe or take prescription or drive, that's where assisted living comes into play. So I've been building these in Florida, in Virginia, all over the place from ground up, assisted livings, 94 units to 98 units. But I've come to realize, revelation, in the last few months, like let's say 6 to 8 months, it takes too long to build them. And even the loan structures are very difficult. Also,
Hmm.
the cost of goods have gone up, right,
Of
Jeff?
course, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I have shifted more now, already built assisted livings. And as a matter of fact, I want to talk about something very special, RALs, which is residential assisted living. What do I mean by that? That is single family home that has 6 bedrooms or 8 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, whatever. If we rent it for like $1,300 or $2,000 for the home, but with assisted living service combined into that one, each room can bring 4,000
Okay.
rent.
So I want to stop for a second. So what you're
Yes,
saying is, for several years, you were building, right?
yes,
Building
yes,
um, large assisted living facilities, and
yes.
now you've shifted away from building these large scale, 100 room facilities,
Mhm.
down to where you're instead buying large houses and converting them into assisted living.
So
That
true.
seems like the opposite of what most people do, right? It seems like most people start with converting a house and then they decide to build like a big scale product. But you're moving the
Yes.
other direction. So what caused you to make that decision?
Well, the biggest thing was that, Jeff and Jillian, what I found was the codes, compliance, and everything, which is great. I don't mind that. But the construction loans really took me for a ride. Cost of construction went up 32%. So I raised the money, then I had to re-raise the money to complete my structures, my buildings. And then I
Mm,
said, oh my gosh, it took me, and my projects are behind by 1 year, almost 1 year and 3 months in certain, states. But the big thing is, if I already have a structure already ready to go, and I can get a license and I can manage assisted living. Also, what happened was in the COVID, not in our centers, but the deaths happened during COVID at the big box, senior assisted livings. That's 100, 200, 400, where the ratio of a caregiver to the patients or to the residents is 20 to 1. But
mm,
residential,
Oh, wow.
it's 4 to 1. In residential,
Mm.
it's 4 or 5 to 1. And I love that because in my mind, I want to give the best. It's not about
yeah.
profits. I always say that I want to give the quality seniors care. That's what my overall theme is.
Okay, let me ask you this. So let's say
Yes.
I'm ready to move into an assisted living
Mhm.
facility, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to decide, do I want to go to a house with 6 bedrooms and presumably six patients, for lack of a better word, right?
Residents,
Or
yeah.
do I want to go to a bigger box place that
Yeah.
maybe might have more amenities, right? Like, I mean, you have more caregivers per patient, right?
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
mean, I probably don't have like break rooms and movie nights and stuff like that.
That's a good point.
How do we mitigate that? How do we decide? And what's the sales pitch to the customer?
I'm so glad because in my larger ones, I'm making movie theater and all, but also with large screens, you're able to have in family rooms of the single family home or in the living room. You could really have a fantastic night of watching the shows and movies, and you could have outside people coming, performing. It's just that in the RALs, residential assisted living, you are able to have six in California where I live, or 10 in Arizona, where I'm really going big now in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, and Scottsdale, right there. And then in Texas, it's 16. Wow. In one residence, single family home. So there are different state laws, but you're right. I wouldn't be able to offer the spa. I wouldn't be able to offer, like, a library, let's say a big one. But the key thing I find is that seniors are loving smaller structures much better because that reminds me of their own home, and they can
Mm.
build relationship with the residents, and they're eating together and all that stuff.
So,
So
um,
mhm,
but I mean, so for assisted living, most people need to have ground floor, bedrooms. I would assume, like it's
good point.
difficult. So, is it hard to find houses that meet this profile?
Very good point. Actually, see, in single family homes, there are 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or seven. I just bought one in Scottsdale area, 10 bedroom, 9.5 bath. So lots of the single family homes with larger space in the backside, you can add rooms to it, or you could
Mm.
configure
Mm.
the whole structure. Garages are changed into bedrooms and things like that. I'm looking at another one which is like 9 bedrooms and 7 baths, let's say, another one. So lots of these single family homes can be converted into the assisted living spaces. But you're right. I don't want elevators. I don't want, if there is a second, like 2-story bedroom, we have the caregivers stay upstairs.
Mm.
So caregivers can stay
Mm.
upstairs and only the residents can stay downstairs.
So,
Mhm.
Vinny, have you thought about possibly buying older hotels that also have like a elevator in them to convert them? Because right now I'm doing hotels to apartments, and but I'm seeing a real opportunity here because then you don't have to even. You might not even have to put in kitchens if you're doing like true assisted
Or
living. You
even the
could just
old
do
roadside inns, right? With like
Yeah,
they're all
right.
ground
yes.
floor rooms.
Totally, totally. You're 100% right, Jillian. I'm so glad you said that. That's my
My
other.
wheels are spinning.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, I'm like, this is, I want to start looking for some hotels to convert.
totally. Let's
So if
Yeah.
partner
I
on the.
find a property, I need to call you, right? That's what you're telling
Yeah,
me.
let's partner because see, I was looking at a Comfort Suites hotel actually in Phoenix area. I almost put an offer on it, and while looking through the licensing and everything, we found out the old elevator will not work. So I had to put another elevator at the end of the hall. 350,000 was the cost to put that. Then the other thing I found was even in the Suites hotel, they were bigger rooms, but there has to be a partition, some kind of even slow partition between the two seniors living in the same room. So it's much better if we can give them one room at a time, and the bathrooms have to be changed a little bit, ADA compliant and so forth like that. So
Hmm.
definitely converting hotels or motels, which are one story, is ideal. Ideal, and they have the professional kitchens, if they have restaurants, something like that. So it can be all arranged. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yep.
What I like
Mhm.
most about this story, though, is it's really cool that you have this very specific strategy you're working on now. But you didn't start here. Jillian alluded to this at the beginning.
Mhm.
You have a great story. We actually had you on our show before, so people can go back and look at that old episode and hear your background. But you were doing multifamily real estate. You're doing, I mean, I think you started with single family originally, right? And then moved to multifamily and had
Mhm.
thousands of units. It's not like
Mhm.
you had one 20
1
unit building. You
billion.
had
I
100,
got into
200,
one
300 unit
over 1
buildings.
billion, by the way. I mean, here
Billion
in the
dollars
last
worth of real
14
estate.
years. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So doing $1 billion worth of real estate, and then you transition into building these assisted livings, and then you're transitioning into converting houses, like the exact opposite side of the scale. And what I like the most about that is you just said you're 70, almost 72 years old, and you're still willing to pivot and do different things. So how do you see these opportunities? Like, what are you doing differently than the average person that gets stuck doing the same thing their whole life?
I'm so glad you're asking me this because I've been selling. I've been selling my portfolio for the last 7 years, actually. I got into the peak, and then last year I just sold another one in Melbourne, Florida, last Wednesday. I sold one in Knoxville, Tennessee, about 3 weeks back at a good peak because it was assumable loan. I sold. I have not bought anything for the last 4 years almost. So I've been
Wow,
selling, selling, selling. I have only three left now out of my all the multifamily. Just three are left. That's it. And we have one which is a very big one. I bought it in COVID in Austin, Texas, 319 units. It went from 35 million to 58 million right now because
that's
we
great.
bought it at the right time and we got good loan. I think it's 3.89% assumable loan. So,
Yeah, that's great.
that's the
Below
only
four
one left.
percent, like that's amazing.
But I like to pivot. My mentality is as a business to grow or to look out in the future with the interest rate cuts that happened. I mean, not cuts, but they increased 22 times last year. The year before, I had already thought about not buying anything because everything was just cash poor, right? It was red
Mhm.
ocean. So to really grow my company, I had to decide which way I'm going. So residential assisted living or assisted living per se, we are 1.4 million beds short as of today. 1.4 million beds.
With 11,000 people retiring every day.
Retiring every
Yeah,
day.
and
Every
and people reaching 84,000 you said a day. That's an
Yeah,
impressive stat. So like, and I
it's
mean, obviously some of these people die off, like people don't live
yeah,
forever, but I'm
totally.
guessing that people
Mhm.
are reaching 80 faster than people are dying off.
You're so right. The thing is, our average stay of a senior is 30 months. And they never move. Once they come into our center, like 94 units or otherwise, unless they get really, really sick, they have to go to the hospital, of course, or rehab center because we don't have doctors. We don't have any medical
Sure.
equipment in the assisted livings, but we are able to give them full care, 24-hour care, good meals, good exercise, all that. Yeah.
I have an uncle in an assisted living facility up in Michigan, and he's been there for about 7 or 8 years now. He's 103, so
Hmm.
he's an anomaly for sure. But
Yeah.
he's doing really well though. But he loves it, right? Like he has
Hmm.
his own. I don't know how yours are set up, but he's got his own space, so he
Hmm.
has like his own little apartment. He even has a tiny kitchenette, so if he
Ah,
wanted to cook for himself, he could.
ah,
Um, but it's like it's like a just like a single burner stove kind of thing. It's not
I
like an
see.
oven and everything like that.
Yes.
But he usually goes down to the main dining hall for food and
Sure.
stuff like that. But every once in a while, he'll make himself a pot of coffee or something, tea or whatever. But
Sure.
it's a really interesting model, and it's something that like when we think about life,
Mhm.
we want somebody to watch over us when we're in our later years. We want to be in the position where we can do that. Have you thought about that for yourself? I mean, you mentioned your own age.
Mhm.
Is part of the reason you're motivated to do this so that you can have a good place for yourself when your time comes for it?
That's so true. My friends, myself, everybody, because as we are growing younger, I always say we never grow old, we are growing younger and younger and younger. But the thing is, when we are able to not cook, or there is a slip or fall, and or if spouse passes away, that's what we find. When the spouse passes away, then it's a declining. And most of about 70% of our residents are women, by the way. They outlive, the husbands. So what we are finding, you're right. My main thinking right now is that I want to do as many of these senior livings because I can bring value to all the people around. And hopefully one day I might go into my Phoenix Scottsdale facility and get hooked up there.
Mm, sure. No, you still live in central Northern California,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
live near San Francisco in Danville, California. That's
yeah,
where it's on the east side of the bay, and
nice.
we have, yeah, yeah.
And you've been there 20 years or more now, right? Like
44 years. We've been married
44 years.
44 years. We moved here 1980, and with the grace of God, and thanks to real estate, we bought our first home for $99,000. It's 1.8 million. I just found out. Wow. But then we went to second home, third home, fourth home. Now we are in a beautiful country club home, and thanks to commercial real estate.
Yeah, it's definitely nice when you can set yourself up. We had a guest on recently, who his job was eliminated,
Ah,
and he had been investing in real estate for a decade before that, and he was able to just easily transition because he
transition.
prepared in advance. And that's really what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
It's about
totally.
doing the things to put yourself in a position where you're not dependent on someone else.
So true, so true. I mean, I don't have to work, but the thing is, when I say if I don't stimulate my mind every day and be passionate about something, I'll wither away. Literally. I mean, I'll be thinking about wrong
Yeah.
attitude and
So
yeah,
what what else do you do to keep yourself young? I mean, obviously the stimulation from work, but I mean, I know you travel a lot. We were
we
talking
do.
offline about how you were
Hmm.
just in Istanbul and Italy and
Yes.
Japan.
Yep.
So how do you pick that? Like, how much time a year do you spend traveling?
Well,
I remember you were in
We
Morocco not
did
that long
we did
ago.
4 trips, 5 trips last year, I think, with my wife and I and children. We like to do two with Neil and Monica, all that. We went to Argentina, we went to Buenos Aires, we went to Patagonia, down south there. Then we are planning going to Sri Lanka next year. We are going to Cancun. Usually we go for family reunion, Jeffrey and Jillian, but try to really do 3 to 4 big long vacations. We just got back from two,
Yeah.
this year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So enjoy the time and charities, giving to charities. We just donated money for schools in Africa and then India and
See,
all those
this
things.
is this is why it was important we mentioned all five pillars, right? Because what
Yeah.
you're saying is you're trying to help people. That's your purpose right now. You're helping
Mhm.
investors, you're helping elderly folks by providing them a good, safe, quality place. And you are we didn't talk about habits, but I'm for sure you didn't get to where you are without having good habits. You found financial freedom for yourself, and because of that financial freedom, you're able to have these extraordinary
Sure.
experiences that you were just talking about. Being able to go to Buenos Aires and obviously Istanbul, and I think you did go to Morocco. I'm not
Yeah,
imagining that.
we
I think I
did.
saw
We
that on
went to
Facebook.
Morocco, we went
Yeah,
to Portugal last year, then we went
yeah.
to a whole trip to Budapest and Amsterdam. Last year we did
Yeah,
all
see,
that.
so
So
amazing long travel experiences, and then also doing the charity and giving back to the
yeah.
world. So you're really living the life exactly how that's why I was happy to have you back on a second
Ah,
time anyway, because
thank
your life is an example of what we all really
ah.
should be striving to live like.
You know,
And you're
I
staying positive through it, which, for me, that's the most important thing, right? Is that I talk about positivity all the time and about giving up bad days. And, we've talked about this. I mean,
Mhm.
I think you have about 100 podcasts. I can't even keep up. I think you have one podcast coming out every single day now. Do you have a 5 podcasts a week or
I
four
have
now?
5 in the sense apartment syndication made easy. Then I have my abundance mindset show, which is live every Thursday, 9 a.m. Then I have Vinny and Bo show. Then we have Desi Money show. Then I'm
Yeah.
writing books. Positivity brings profitability. I revise that one and come. It just helps me in the morning. I get up at 5 or so, around 5, do my miracle morning routine and really gratitude and doing exercise and keeping my mind right. If I can reset my mind every day, it's so important, for everybody, for everybody.
Yeah.
Eating right, eating right.
That's so fantastic, and
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about this stuff forever. Like every
Mhm.
time I talk to you, I feel this way. Like I could just hang out with you every day, all day long, and
Ah,
be a happy person. I have to ask a follow up question then, because
please.
um,
Hmm.
so you're not raising money, you're doing this with your own capital, maybe
Hmm.
if some family money or whatever, but primarily, small groups, right, like that. Um, and you're saying it's easy for other people to do it as well, which is
Hmm.
great. I love that. But let's say I had the perfect location picked out and I was going to buy it and I could figure out the real estate side because I know how to buy a property.
Sure.
I could do that.
Hmm.
I would have no clue how to manage residential assisted living. What I need to know? What do I do next
I
after
would
I buy the
love
book?
to. I would love to say it's so easy. In my academy, I teach every Wednesday. Actually, tonight I'll be teaching 4 o'clock to 5:30. Anybody, oh, well, this is not going to air right away, right? But anyway, anybody could come at 4 o'clock. But what it is that you just Google and find an operator in that zip code who has the license for assisted living. That's all you need. You meet with them and they will kind of share with you if that location is a good location, what the restrictions are by the state and so forth. There
Hmm.
are also companies who can manage that RAL for you too.
That's great.
There are,
So,
yeah.
so you
Uh-huh.
find a local operator, you pick
Hmm.
the location, get a good operator, figure out what kind of stuff works, and then go
Yes,
find it and buy it and let that local operator manage it
totally,
for you.
totally,
I love
totally.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
Jillian, we have a new project.
I
Last life ever assisted living. I think it fits really well with our brand. Like,
love it.
I
I
really
love it.
love it actually. I would love to diversify my portfolio to include some stuff like this. So I'm
Please,
actually really
please.
excited about it. And I'm also fascinated by this other transition, like moving away from raising. Cause like, what made you, Vinny,
Hmm.
like famous, I think, is to the
Yeah,
extent that you're famous, right?
I
Is
appreciate
your book Real Estate Syndication Made
made
Easy, right? Which
easy.
was
Yep.
a big international bestseller. It's a great book. I recommend it to people. But that's all about, I mean, I don't know. I didn't know you when you wrote it, but I assume that the reason you wrote it was because you were raising money and you wanted people to reach out
Exactly.
to you,
I
right? So
started
you're
with
completely different
$1,000.
world now.
Yeah, no, I
Completely different
started.
world.
My family didn't believe in me. When I started that business 17 years back, they said, we need take $1,000, that's all. And I raised 220 million. Wow. Through the
Yeah, it's
techniques
insane.
and my investors, I've 700 some investors now. But the thing is, I'm shifting. As I sold these properties, multifamily now, I just have a picture in my mind. I don't want to be on $20 million loan anymore. I don't want to be on the put my neck out for 20, $47 million loan that I have been on. You know, as I'm selling the multifamily, I'm taking my own wealth that I've accumulated and
Mhm.
getting into RALs without
I love it. I
syndication.
love it.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it's so smart to make those transitions at different points in your life, at different points in the market cycle.
Mhm.
It's really brilliant. Well, Vinny, if people want to get a hold of you, they want to reach out to you, they want to follow you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Totally. They could go to vinneychopra.com, Vinney, Chopra.com. And then, I have got Academy, I've got free books, by the way. Oh, please go to vinneychopra.com/free benefits. So my author designed a page and all my three books one can get for free, digital copies and
Nice.
audio copies too. Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that, by the way, because
Sure.
I've read, I think, all but your most recent book of the books that
Yes.
you have, and they're really really well put together books. I
Uh,
particularly like Positivity Makes Profitability, and I understand you completely changed it after I read the first version of it, so I need to go back and read the second version of it as well. But really great stuff, and
I'll send the audio copies of that one and also audio copy of my senior living to both of you. Yeah, and
oh,
I'm
thank you
available
so
to
much.
you any day, anytime you'd like me to meet, just separately too. I'm available,
Oh yeah,
if
no,
I
Vinny,
can.
you've always been super accessible. That's
Uh,
one of the reasons I love you. Thank you so much for being on the
thank
show.
you.